I think there's some cool news when it comes to Theta. Theta very recently in a post announced how they're going to be launching Theta Intelligence, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though later on I'll talk about the price of Theta, but I'll talk about this real quick. Now, the whole premise behind this is that Theta argues how most organizations collect customer feedback through surveys, focus groups, and social monitoring. Again, they do say this in their post. However, they say that by the time they see the data, the moment has passed. Basically, it's kind of alluding to the delay, right? So again, they're launching Theta Intelligence to change that, so to speak, and it turns AI agent conversations into real-time business insights. So I find this to be pretty interesting. Now, people may be, again, telling me who cares if Theta is approximately around 45 times lower than $10. Why is this relevant? Well, I think the reason why it's relevant to me, at least, is because I think this shows progress when it comes to Theta. It showcases that, you know what, they're still doing something. I mean, it's not like it's a small project by any means. Keep in mind, when it comes to just kind of the pure size of Theta, right? It's currently ranked 131st in the world in terms of market cap within this space. So if people like to tell me that the 400th project or the 600th ranked project or whatever is randomly going to make it, this one suddenly can't? I mean, it's way bigger than those. So if they can make it, hypothetically, why can't this make it as well? Sometimes that's kind of my mindset. However, even besides that, there's been a slight recovery, actually, when it comes to altcoins and also the space in general, but granted, in the grand scheme of things, Theta is still down by quite a lot. However, the way you take a look at it is that, you know what, when it comes to Theta Intelligence, I do like that vibe overall because it showcases that, again, Theta's at least trying to do something, so I do like seeing that. I think the charts sometimes don't really reflect how well the project is doing fundamentally because this space, it's often affected by sentiment. You know, it's not really just tied to the fundamentals of a project. However, if I feel like the project is improving, yet the charts are going down, I'd be happier because I'm looking to dollar cost average. So if I can dollar cost average at a lower point, that's not going to be something I'd complain about or be upset with because that's kind of the whole point for me. I'd like to dollar cost average actually at a lower point. And I think that anyways, when it comes to the idea of $10, we're looking at a market cap at that point, considering the current circulating supply of Theta. At that point, it'd be exactly 10 billion because the current circulating supply of Theta is actually a billion and the maximum supply is actually also a billion. So I find that pretty interesting. And that's actually like exactly a billion, by the way. But besides that, 10 billion, even if we assume that market cap right there, that's just around 25% of what Shiba Inu reached back in 2021 at one point. And that's actually around 8 times less than what Dogecoin reached in terms of market cap at one point back in 2021. I don't know why that seems so ridiculous to me. Arguably, maybe a 10 billion market cap, but we'll wait and see. But when I take a look at the fundamentals of Theta, that right there wouldn't necessarily, I think, shock me too much because I do find the fundamentals to be pretty interesting. And let me explain what I mean by this. For instance, if we take a look at Theta, it's a decentralized cloud for AI, media, and as well as entertainment. However, I think we can take a look at Theta as a dual network design, so to speak, because first of all, there's the Theta Edge network and there's the Theta blockchain. And for instance, the Theta Edge network, it does provide GPU compute power, for instance, in the case of AI, right? And GPU stands for graphic processing unit. But besides that, let's now take a look at the Theta blockchain, which supposedly does have an aspect of EVM, which stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. However, while this may seem kind of simple on paper, I think there is actually sometimes an amazing thing when it comes to simplicity because when a project is too overly complicated, I think it just confuses people sometimes for no reason. It may be cool initially. It may create that kind of, wow factor, but it's kind of like having a convertible. It's cool for the first 2 weeks, but then after 2 weeks, it's like, what am I going to do with that? Sometimes that's kind of my mindset. So I like it when a project is more simple. I don't need a convertible. That's the way to take a look at it sometimes. The analogy that I would have. However, even besides that point, Theta, I think, could also be viewed as in a kind of dual token design in a sense, because we take a look at Theta and also we take a look at T-Fuel, but that's kind of like a gas token. But besides that point, when I take a look at Theta overall, I'm still a fan. I still like what they're doing. And when I see them still even thinking about something like Theta Intelligence, I think it showcases how they still think about the future. I think it showcases how they still care, how they're still putting that effort. So I'm still a fan. Why would I give up? If a project is doing bad, fundamentally and it's doing bad in terms of the charts, then it's game, set, match right there. I'm going to leave, probably. But then I haven't seen that when it comes to this. So I'm still dollar cost averaging once a month, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But all I can do is wait. That's it. I can't do anything about this. I mean, I could try to do 100 push-ups for no reason, but it's not really going to do anything. That's the way you take a look at it. It's not going to affect this space. It'd probably be good exercise for me, right? I'll do like, 5 sets of 20 push-ups or whatever. But, it's not going to do anything when it comes to this space. So I'm just going to be waiting, holding, and that's it. But I feel like the hard part is finding the project. I feel like the easy part for me is waiting. If all I have to do is wait, if all I have to do is just hypothetically wait for an altcoin season, maybe if it ever even does happen, we'll wait and see. I feel like the waiting part is not the difficult part. Probably this is the way I take a look at it. So I just don't want to give up, and I'm still waiting, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But I just thought this was a pretty cool update, actually, when it comes to Theta, and I think it's pretty cool news at the end of the day when it comes to Theta.